Hi, I'm Anita, and today we're going to do some collaging. Collage is one of my favorite types of art, and so I'm really happy to share it with you today. You might choose to do today's project, which is going to be a collaged memory box. You might choose to do that on your own, or you might choose to grab somebody in your family or a friend and collage together to build some connection. And either way is okay. If you would like to start and collage along with me today, that would be great. You don't have to. You could use this as a sort of instructional and to get and inspirational to get some ideas and collage afterwards. But if you would like to get started right away, here's a basic list of the things that you'll need. So you'll need a box because we are going to do a collaged memory box today. There's lots of choices about boxes, and I'll talk about those in a moment. You're going to need some paper or cloth. I'd encourage you for today's project, if you're collaging along with me, to choose some paper. Just keep it really simple. And again, I'm going to go over those options in a minute. And then we're also going to need cutting tools, basic household scissors will work, and some glue or some tape for adhesive. And those are all of the things that you can find around your house and will be helpful as you collage today. So I'm going to talk about these choices a little bit as we get started. And then I'm going to get started on my box as well. So with a collage box, you can choose lots of materials or boxes that you can find just around the house. So I have some different options here. You might choose, I'm going to show you these boxes in more detail after we get started, but you might choose a tissue box, which this one is already done and repurposed, and I'm going to show you some of the details with that later. And you might also choose, this was also from the recycle bin, this was a box that held gallon bags, and as you can see it looks like something altogether different now. Other things you might choose, I really did raid my recycle bin today. Mac and cheese, boxes like that can be great. And in terms of a memory box, which is going to be for holding mementos, papers, objects, things that you want to remember a person or an event by. This can be kind of a clever box because you can stick things inside, so I like how that opening is a little bit different. You might choose a box that doesn't have a top on it, so you'll be able to see the things inside, or you could create your own top for it. You might choose a little gift box. This is a gift box from my friend's Mio Studio in Lancaster. And this one's kind of nice because it has tissue paper already in it. And that way, if I have something that's more fragile or more important to me, I could put it in there. And you might choose a box that's a little bit bigger. This box is actually really big. This is an old boot box. And this one's so big you can stick your head in it. It's a pretty big box. So you might choose something big, especially if you have larger objects that you want to contain. And I wanted to show you this box because it's really kind of cool. This one has a window in it. That can be really, really handy if you would like to do something where you can see the contents without opening in it. The other really cool feature about this box is that it has a handle on it, so I could take it from place to place if I wanted to. And then the last one I'll show you is a cylinder. Not exactly a box, but same material as a box, kind of a cool texture. This one, as you can see, held glow sticks. So all of these things are repurposed. And this one, again, has lost the top on it, but that could be okay, or maybe I could make a fun top of my own. So those are some box choices, so you can look around your house for a box. And in terms of paper, the things you might use, very common to use magazines. You can see I use my magazines until I can barely use them anymore. You might choose catalogs or mailers that come in the mail. You might have some craft paper around. This is actually pretty cool craft paper that's from Lancaster Creative Reuse, which is a great place to find materials for a very low cost, very affordable. And I liked those patterns. I'm going to use a little bit of that today. The newspaper can be a good option for collaging, and a lot of people have that around the house, as well as wrapping paper. You might have old scraps of wrapping paper that you've saved. Or here's an example of some cloth. Again, we won't be using cloth today, but all of these things would be options for you in terms of collaging. And again, in terms of scissors today, I'm just going to be using, for the most part, regular ordinary kitchen scissors, and my favorite adhesive is just a regular glue stick because it's easily available to me and is easy to handle and works quite well. You might also choose some Scotch tape. So I'm going to tell you a whole lot more about collaging today, but I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'd invite you to go ahead and get started too if you would like to do some collaging as we're talking today. I'm going to clear a little bit of space, and as I said before, we're going to do a memory box today, and a memory box can hold all kinds of things. I'm going to show you a couple of different examples of different memory boxes that you might make, because I took a non-traditional approach for the first couple that I made before the video today. But for today, the one that I'm going to make along with you is, this is another packaging box. I got started a little bit, but I really like this because I like it opens kind of like a briefcase kind of effect, and that just feels kind of fun to me, and I think it's going to serve me quite well today. And I've started to add some things. In terms of remembering something, there are lots of things that you might want to remember. There might be a special person in your life that you would really like to hold some memories. There might be an event. I've got some examples of event kinds of paper collages. This one is a receipt and some images of a meal. And this is a really cool example of repurposing, and that's on the back of an envelope. And you might want to remember a holiday. Last year I did this around Halloween because it was on my mind. And one of the things that I really liked about how this turned out is I was able to take lots of oranges and yellows of all different types from magazines and blend them together. And that gave it kind of a cool effect where that jack-o'-lantern is a little bit more textured and looks a little bit more realistic. So those are a couple of things that you might remember. And today, I think for me, because I'm filming this in 2020 and we're right in the middle of the stay-at-home order, I'm going to do a theme that's more around the pandemic. And that's because it's timely, that's going to work for me today. And this will give me an opportunity to maybe think about some memories of this time to create something that will help me remember in the future things that were challenging during this time, and also maybe things that opportunities that I got to take advantage of that were unexpected for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and start choosing some paper and some different things. I'm gonna set my fabric aside. The other thing that I'll mention is that in addition to paper, you can also you can have some things that will give a more 3D effect that you can stick on the outside at the end, like bottle caps, pipe cleaners, pom-poms, different things. I like to keep things around the house just in clear bins where I can access random materials, and I like to do a lot of reuse, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I really like about collage. I'm going to set a couple of these things aside, and I'm going to use a little bit more of this paper. And again, I'm just going to be using a regular glue stick, and I'm going to start just so you feel more comfortable starting as well. But as we collage today, I'm also going to take the time to tell you a little bit about the art of collage, about more tools that you can use if you find that you really like this form of art. And I'm also going to show you the other boxes that I repurposed that I really like the way they turned out. I think they're fun, and they're going to serve a pretty cool purpose for me. So a lot of times when I collage, I don't have a plan ahead of time about what I'm going to use or how it's going to look. So I really don't have a good idea about how this box is going to look in the end. I have a little bit of an idea of the theme of it, and I'm going to leave the date showing on the newspaper because that's just from the start of the pandemic. But that'll be kind of cool because it sort of keeps the time of the time period, so I'll remember exactly when I made it, and other people will be able to see when I made it too. So again, you're just smoothing the paper down. I also like collage because it can be a bit messy. I don't get really super detailed most of the time when I collage, and this one I'm just gonna, the paper is a little longer, I'm just gonna wrap it around there and give that a smooth edge. I like to sort of just go along and see things happen as they happen and let the box just kind of lead me to where it's gonna go. For this one, because it's just for me, I'm not going to be super picky about how it looks in the end. I'm going to play around with it for a little bit, and then I'm going to just see what happens. My glue stick is getting a little low, so I'm going to switch over to some Craft Bond glue, which will work just as well for me today. The Craft Bond glue has two sides on it. One is a little bit of a thicker one, more like a glue stick, which I'll probably use for the most part, and then the other end has a sharper tip where I can get some fine points. And so that leads me to talk about other adhesives that you might choose to use today. When you do craft glue, you're just going to give it a little squeeze when it comes out, and you'll get a nice application. So the other glues that you might use when you're collaging might be some glue that's specifically for paper arts, and I have this one here specifically for paper arts, and this one's gem tack, and that might be if you wanted to use gems or stones, some materials that they need a little bit more strength in the adhesive that you're using. That would be good options. And then we can also talk about Mod Podge a little bit. I really like Mod Podge a lot. Mod Podge either comes in a container like this, and it's a liquid. A lot of people like to use Mod Podge as a finishing glue because if you have places that you really want to stick and you want it to have durability, so it will last a while. Mod Podge can be a really good choice. And you can either use this that you would brush on, or there's actually a spray that will also dry clear for you. So that can be kind of nice. So I'm just, I don't like the Craft Bond glue as well. And with this paper, you can see it's getting a little bit saturated, and so that's going to make this a little bit tricky for me. So I'm going to need to do some problem solving around that, and that's okay, because one of the things that's really great about art is it really gives us an opportunity to solve problems. And so I'm going to think about whether or not I want to, if I want to sort of gift wrap those ends, which I actually kind of like, because I'm going to use tape and do that. Because the box, because this one's for me, is kind of like a gift for myself. So that's kind of a nice way to handle that. So I think I'll do it that way. And just take a little tape. And one of the nice things about doing this for me is that it can look any way that I want it to look. It can, I can exercise a lot of choice with this, which really helps me to feel pretty in control. Pretty powerful. I can decide whether or not anyone ever sees this box, and that means it is all up to me and all good no matter what happens. So for those of you collaging along with me, I'm wondering how your box is coming. Hopefully you're having some fun and getting creative and realizing that this doesn't have to be an activity that causes a lot of stress for you, because there's no need for perfection. I like collage because it's pretty messy, and because you can work with it and you can layer things. And so this is the other thing that's really kind of cool with collage, is that you really get a nice effect if you layer things on top of other things. So if you have a part of the collage that doesn't look exactly like you want it to look, that's okay, because you can always put things on top of it. And that's a good way to change things. I don't really like to say to hide things. It's almost like creating not secrets, but surprises in your box. So I'm running into some corner issues here. I haven't used this type of box before, so I'm sort of just figuring it out as I go along. And again, not super worried about it because I'm going to be able to change it up as I see fit later. But with this paper, because it didn't take the craft bond glue very well, I'm just going to stick with some tape and then figure out what I want to do with it later. Maybe later I'll want to get a new glue stick and glue some more things on top to hide the tape, and that could definitely be an option for me. But in some ways, the lines of the tape could be kind of cool too, especially if I decide to run that all along that seam. That could be kind of a nice effect. So as you keep collaging, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about collage art. Collage art is known as a mixed media art because, you know, literally that means just what it says. You can mix and match lots of different materials. So, like I said before, there's lots of different things that we can use, and even in terms of the paper that I'm using today, I can mix and match those papers so that they don't have to be alike. There doesn't have to be a lot of symmetry with it. You might make collages that are more neat and organized, where the shapes are laid out in a way that's more organized. It might look something like this, or you might do something that ends up just being a little more random and messy, and this one is gifting me with some pieces that are coming off that I might use for something else. You can get really creative and use your imagination with collages, and you know, you might make a collage out of different pieces to make a picture. And this one is a picture of a boat on the sea. And you might also, this one might be a little harder to see, but you also might make collages, and I could do this on my memory box if I wanted today. I could put some pieces together to tell a story. In this one, this is one from a while ago, but you can see the person in this picture is kind of angry. But collage can be a really great way to express emotion and to understand your emotions a little bit better. So those are all different ways that you can use collage. And so these are all with paper, and so collage is also known as a paper art because most of the time it's paper is what's used, but you can use found materials, and I like to make sculptures that are collaged, and I've helped people collage things like skateboards and bicycles, and so there's lots of different things that you can collage that are not paper, and all of it's really fun and a great way to express yourself. So with today's memory box, if we think about today's project in general, the idea of a memory box is to hold memories. Memories consist of all of our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, all of those things that are churning around in our brain. And the brain is such a powerful thing. It's like a vault, right? It's a vault. It's very powerful. It stores information. It catalogs it. It protects us a lot of times. Sometimes we have memories that go down deeper that we don't access all of the time because the brain is keeping us safe. Maybe a memory that's scary or uncomfortable or unusual that we just don't want to be thinking about. Or the brain also might unearth a memory sometimes. Sometimes we might be thinking about trying to think about something and trying to remember something, and then all of a sudden when we let our brain relax, it comes back to us and the brain gives it back to us. So memory is really powerful. It can really drive a lot of our emotions and a lot of our actions. So there's a lot of cool things about memory. I'm thinking right now about my next steps and what I want to do. I pulled I'm gonna set this over here. I pulled some things out that I might want to use, and these are some different materials that I can use. There's photographs, which I didn't talk about before. These are some old photographs. I had kind of a yellow theme going on. I wanted my box to be kind of bright. It's been a really weird time, and the memories of this are going to be super strange, but I wanted it to reflect sort of the brightnesses that I've also felt and things that I've learned about myself. So I'm actually gonna add some photos here, and I'm just gonna stick with my tape because I'm really kind of into it right now. And I also picked some paper. These were left over from another craft activity. It's just some cardstock that is cut into different shapes. There are some business cards that were no longer being used. And I also had found some quotes from magazines that I think will fit quite nicely for the collage that I'm doing today. I'm curious about the memories that you're making your memory box for. Maybe you knew ahead of time, and maybe you weren't aware yet. And I like it when it just comes organically, and those ideas just come fresh and lead us to where they're going to lead us. So with the time left today, I also want to talk about who can collage. Collaging is really for anyone. If you are a young person, you can collage. If you are an older person, you can collage. If you are a boy or girl or non-binary, you can collage. It's really for anybody. It's also for people of all different abilities. So I like to think that anyone can collage. If people who think in different ways, people who think slow, people who think fast, people who think in different ways, collaging can be really beneficial for everyone. If you are a younger person or an older person, or someone who has pain or difficulty with mobility with your hands, or maybe some challenges with vision, those would all be good opportunities to have a buddy collage along with you, so that you might be able to have some assistance then with things like scissors, and also with things like glue guns, which is another adhesive that, of course, a lot of people like to use, and but gets very hot, and I think I have a scar to prove that. So those are times where you would want to have some extra assistance and some people helping you out with that. But I really like it when people collage together, because you can get ideas from each other and build some connection around it, and that's super, super cool as well. So I'm going to add a couple more pieces here, and then I'm probably going to set this one aside today because I want to show you the boxes that I worked on earlier in the week, because I am super, super happy with the way that they came out, and I want to be able to share that with you today. So I'm going to leave this one for now and come back to it. It's a start. There are a lot of rough edges with it, and actually one of the boxes I'll show you today, it looked kind of like this yesterday, and you'll get to see the things that I did with it. So I'm a counselor, and so the boxes that I made, no surprise to me, turned out to have some themes that were not quite so surprising for me, and I want to show them to you. So this, again, you would recognize as an ordinary tissue box, and you might recognize the brand here if you've had this brand of tissues before. So I decided to take some craft paper. I actually found craft paper. I wasn't expecting this, but I had some that the colors were very similar here. And so I decided to wrap the box with the craft paper, but I decided to leave a couple of the sides open as accents. They're kind of like accent sides. And for me, that gave the box a little bit more motion, helped it to move a little bit, helped it to be a little bit more interesting. And then a couple of other things that I did with the box that I want to point out and show to you. So I happened to be finding things about sleep in magazines when I was making the box. And so I decided that maybe this could be a sleep box. Now, this is a very, not an ordinary way to think about a memory box, but sometimes when I'm going to sleep at night, there are some things on my mind from the day that I really want to put away so I can sleep better. So this one for me is actually going to sit by my bedside with slips of paper so that I can write some things down, stick them in the box, and forget about them, and not take them into my dreams that night. So I'm pretty hopeful that this will work. A couple of other things I did with this in terms of technique. I don't like to strive for perfection when I'm collaging. And so I needed to cut the craft paper in order to get the opening for this. And I decided I don't have to worry about it being super neat, because there are ways that I can layer some things on top. And I found these really, really cool, these are like plastic pom-poms. They're actually like a building fun toy, and I use them to go around the opening and it gives it a little bit more pop, makes it a little more fun. They're actually really fun to touch as well. And then I also found a pipe cleaner that was already in this shape, and when I looked at it, it was already bent into this shape in my craft box, and I thought that kind of looks like a caption box. And so I want to give this more of a 2D effect and have it come out. And so I found the caption Rockabye Baby, and that's on the inside. And then I also happened to find flowers in a magazine that matched the top, and really I wasn't planning for it. It just sort of came together, which is one of the things I like about collaging. And I actually got a little bit more detailed with that. I used an X-Acto knife to cut some of this, and an X-Acto knife, again, if you're somebody who's younger or somebody who has can use some support with vision or with mobility with your hands. X-Acto knives are super sharp, and so you want to be careful with them, but it gave me a really nice effect, and it also helped me to leave a lot of this craft paper open, which I liked. I could do some layering with it, and the other thing that I could do is, because I covered one side at a time, I could use some of these images to wrap from one side to the other, which was a fun idea, but it also helped me to secure the edges that were there and make them a little bit flatter, a little bit neater. So that's an example of a box that I was more focused on the technique, more focused on having it be a little neat. I have a fun message on the bottom, I love you. That could be a message for me at night when I go to bed, or for someone sneaking around my things. If they find it, that could be a little love note for them as well. Now, I'll show you this other box that is looking quite a bit different. So with this box, I decided that anytime that I know somebody who is having a memory that they don't want to have anymore, they don't want to be thinking about it, I decided I would make a memory monster. And this monster is going to eat memories. So this is you might recognize this or might not, as a box that held gallon bags. And so again, this is from my recycle bin. It's repurposed. So it was super easy to find, didn't cost any money. And so with this, I used a technique that's altogether different. I did not worry. This is going to be sort of like my memory box that I'm making today. It's sort of similar in some ways because I wasn't really worried about where things were placed. And then I happened to find things that were just really fun. And the other thing that you'll notice is that there are places where there are white edges, and sometimes what I really, really like to do, instead of cutting with scissors, I like to take paper and just give it a rip. And when you rip paper, it's kind of cool because you get this exposed edge on the inside, and that gives an effect that I really like, and I think the act of doing it is really quite pleasing. So add some googly eyes and some antennas, and I've got a monster who's ready to chomp on some memories. And so I can't wait to use this. I'm probably going to take this to my counseling office and let people have some fun with that, and also let them have a way where they can take those memories and put them somewhere else, giving them a lot more control, a lot more focus. And so that's going to be a fun way to use this. So the things I'd really like you to remember on your collage journey is that there are no rules, no right or wrong. You can use lots of different materials, and you can repurpose a ton of materials. You can do things over and over again in any way that you like and make the choices that are important to you. I wish you very, very well on your collage journey. I'm excited excited for you to see what you'll come up with. And I want to thank you for spending time collaging with me today. And right now, I'm going to get back to my box. Have fun.